earlier I told someone that I am less, okay, I don't know if I'm considered a Christian anymore or not. I don't know, okay? Very, very spiritual, yes, but I'm so turned off by religion. So that's where I kind of have to rub there. But anyway, I was in a talk with a couple of guys at work, and we were talking about, how most Christians are very hypocritical and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's not really even what's important here. It's like, when I was going to church, as a very much a practicing Christian, my whole thing was, like there it was like, people, out there in the world accuse you of being a hypocrite, because you do bad things, but whatever. It's like, well, tell them, look, that's why I'm a Christian, because I need that. I know I'm not perfect. I know I've got a lot of issues and all that. Okay, that's a fair argument. That's like, okay, so this Christian is a hypocrite, but they realize I suck and I really need all the help I can get, so therefore I'm going to go to church and be a Christian, whatever. That's not even what the point of what I'm getting at is. What I'm getting at is I made the statement that I'm probably less of, we were talking about atheists too. I said, I'm probably less of an atheist now, which I never was an atheist, but I mean, like, if you're ever some kind of degree of atheism, whatever, I'm less of an atheist, or I'm further away from atheism now than I was then, when I was going to church twice a week, whatever, Christian. I'm further away from atheism now. I believe far more in a creation and a higher power and all that stuff now than when I was a practicing Christian. Literally going to church twice a week, Sunday and Wednesday, whatever. But now, I'm maybe, like I said, further away from atheism now than I was then. So, and I noticed that, like one of my other coworkers kind of had a look on his face like, huh? Well, it's because I look at reality, I look at this material plane, and I realize that none of this is real. It's just a perceived reality, and the way you kind of put that into, kind of explain that, I guess, is like, for example, a lion who is in a zoo, born in the zoo, lived at the zoo its entire life, it's lived in the habitat. Does that lion know it's in captivity? Does that lion know that it's not in its natural habitat? No, it doesn't. It has no idea. All that lion knows is this is my reality. This is the world. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. Right? It doesn't know, you get my point. Anywho, so, and then there's Plato's allegory of the cave, where you had the people who were chained together and they were looking at a wall. It's like, pretend there's a bonfire built behind these people and they're staring at this wall. And then there's other people who come through with, say, they walk through, or maybe they use puppets or whatever. But the point is, all they can see their entire lives from birth to death are these shadows on the wall. So they're facing this wall and there's shadows that go across the wall. Now, their perception is that's reality. The only thing I can see are these shadows going back and forth across this wall and interacting and this and that and whatever. So there you go. And then it's like, well, that's their perceived reality. And then one of them gets loose and he leaves the cave. And he sees the sun, he sees trees, he sees other people, he sees rocks, he sees what we call reality. But that's just our perception of it. That's what we perceive. That's what we're able to see. So, you know, and let's say that you were born on a spaceship, which I mean, in the future, that's very possible. And someone's born on a spaceship, never saw a planet. All they can do is look out the windows and see space, and then the inside of the spaceship. That pretty much becomes a perceived reality. Now, I'm sure they would be brought up and taught that, you know, this is really planets and this is that, whatever. You get my point. My point is, it's all they know. So they're going to think this is creation. This ship that we live on, the space the outer space that I see outside, that is creation. That is reality. That's all there is, because that's all they see. Now we can go into more of a spiritual plane, right? Where you might have, I don't know, ghosts or angels or whatever. There's things that live on other planes of existence, and they perceive other things. You know, a lot of people who do DMT trips and stuff like that can say that they went into a whole other reality. They're like, and they can usually come back and say, this ain't it. In fact, this is a very small sliver of what's really real. So anyway, how did this go along with all that? Well, because a lot of atheists believe in materialism, material world, physicality or whatever. All they believe in is what is in front of me. That's all I got. And while it's like that's the only thing I can prove, well, actually it's not, but whatever. For the sake of this, all I can prove is what I can physically show you. I know there's more because I've experienced other things. I've had spiritual experiences. I've had experiences outside of the body and things like that. Or at least it seemed that way. But it was enough to show me that there is far more to this than what we perceive in this third dimensional reality, in this small sliver. We only see 5% of the light spectrum. We know, able to prove through physics and astrophysics, that there is far more out there. They know that there's dark matter out there. Dark matter just means they can detect it, they can calculate it and detect it using physics and whatever else. They can say, yeah, we know there's more there. In fact, we only see about 5% of what's actually there in the universe. We can detect it through our physics, but we cannot perceive it. We can't see it. Because why? Well, we don't know. Probably because we only live in 3 dimensions, and something else that there may be in a 5th dimension. That part I don't know. All we know is that it's there. So that could mean there's other planets literally right beside ours, or maybe even intermingled with ours. There could be other civilizations right beside you, like literally right here beside me as I'm speaking to you, and I cannot perceive them because they're not on the same frequency as me. I perceive things in a certain bandwidth or frequency range or whatever you want to call it, and they may or may not be able to perceive me. I don't know. It's like the radio station thing. If you're tuned to channel 100, then you can hear whatever's on 100. You know that 101, 102, 103 are there. I'm aware of the fact that they're there, but I can only hear them if I tune to them. And if I tune to 101, well, I'm aware of the fact that 100 is there because I just heard it. But now I'm tuned to 101, and that's the one I'm perceiving now. So there could be all these other realities. And that's where my rub is with atheists and atheism. I'm like, there's so much more than just what we see, that it can't be an accident. There was no cosmic accident. There is no, this physicality, the only reason why it's physical to us, the only reason why this is hard is because I vibrate on that frequency. Something that's on a different frequency will just pass right through it. just like with the radio stations. There's, hell, I don't know, hundreds of radio waves flowing through the air. Right now, right here, through this air, there are hundreds of frequencies from radio stations. I can only tune to one of them, but I know they're there. So, how's that an argument against atheism? I guess it's just because atheism is such a simplistic. If atheism were true, then that sucks. And that means, well, for one, it's like, well, where does matter come from? It had to come from it had to be generated from somewhere. Nothing is generated without thought. Generated in the mind. Generated in the mind of what? Generated in the mind of a creator. You don't have to call it God. You can call it whatever you want. I don't care. Anyway, hope that makes sense. I'm trying to start doing more of these because I have these thoughts and I have these conversations with people and stuff like that, and I intend to save it for the podcast. I need to store that little nugget in my brain, and I'll talk about it when I record the next podcast. Next time I have a podcast, what was I thinking about again? I cannot remember. And then I may have completely lost it. So anyway, that's what I got. Loved ones. Today is Father's Day, 2024. So, happy Father's Day and stuff. I love you. Bye-bye. Or, I'll see you directly.